I read a passage from the Gospel of Matthew this morning. I'd like to read just a little further this evening. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? The light of the body is the eye. This is spelled E-Y-E. But it might conceivably be spelt with the one letter I. If you have self-consciousness, whatever the nature of that self may seem to be, that is the light to which reference is made here. You are aware of yourself. You have consciousness of some of the things, at least, that are going on around you. There is that much light. If the eye is single, if your identity is one with true identity, the identity that centers in the Lord, then your whole body is full of light. The breath of life is breathed into your body. You recall, speaking of the Word, that in him was life, light, life, and the life was the light of men. If your identity is the true identity, you are a living soul. For your identity to be the true identity, you must be attuned with the ascending aspect of the creative cycle. In other words, your treasure must be in heaven, must be in Shekinah, in the quality, the character of the Christ. If that is your treasure, nothing else is your treasure. When your treasure is in heaven, that's where it is. It isn't in the earth. However, if it's in the earth, it isn't in the heaven. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And where your heart is, there will your identity be also. If your heart is in the earth, there your identity is. If your heart is in the earth, you are attuned to the descending aspect of the creative cycle, and you are consequently a dying soul. That is a disintegrating aspect of the creative cycle. This is the I which is evil. The evil aspect of the creative cycle is the descending aspect. There's nothing wrong with it. It should be there. There's nothing wrong with evil in this sense. The good aspect of the creative cycle is the ascending aspect of it. And they both belong. They're both interdependent. You can't have one without the other. The only point is that human beings have no business being identified with the descending aspect of the creative cycle. If they are, then their I is evil. Their identity is evil. And they know it to be so because they disintegrate. That's the way it works. But if your heart is in heaven because your treasure is there, then you are identified with the ascending aspect of the creative cycle, which carries you into heaven. The descending aspect carries you into hell. Hell may be an experience for a while, but ultimately it's nothing. It relates to the grave, where there is complete disintegration insofar as that particular form is concerned. Of course, people try to stop that nowadays too. They embalm bodies, try to preserve them. Some people even freeze them. Of course, the embalming trade is a very ancient one. But what is disintegrating should disintegrate. Let it disintegrate. That's what needs to happen. That's the descending aspect of the creative cycle. Human beings are always trying to stop it happening. Of course, they feel it happening while they still have a little life left. And the endeavor then is to try to prevent it from happening. But if one is attuned to the descending aspect of the creative cycle, one should disintegrate. That's what should happen. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a painful process, a miserable process, an unfortunate process, but it's what should happen if human beings are attuned that way. Because this has been the state in human experience for as long as memory goes back, it is thought to be normal, or the only one that's possible. So try to restrain the grim reaper so that we can enjoy, a few more years of misery. But apparently nobody ever thought that it might be profitable to let polarity be changed so that one was attuned with the ascending aspect of the creative cycle, which is just as surely there as the descending, because human beings have been so insulated from it, they have apparently thought it didn't exist, or if it did exist, it only existed after they were dead. When in actual fact, by just looking around, particularly in the springtime, it is evident that there is an ascending aspect of the creative cycle. And somehow or other our bodies got built, and our minds, such as they are, developed, and the capacity of emotion appeared, and our ability to sense things in the spiritual sense was present. All this relates to the ascending aspect of the creative cycle. But the key is in this passage here. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And where your heart is, there will your sense of self be. If your sense of self is in heaven, that is in Shekinah, that is in the evidence of the presence of the one who dwells, the true identity. And if you are your heart is with this evidence, then your experience is of the true identity. It might be said that the true identity of man is something. The false identity of man is nothing. Man proceeds in his present condition from feeling that he must be something somehow, in the cycles of disintegration to the point where he realizes he is nothing, and when he realizes that, he realizes nothing. Let the eye be single. When the experience of human identity is consequent upon attunement with the descending aspect of the creative cycle, there is a scattering abroad, a disintegration. But when there is attunement with the ascending aspect of the creative cycle, there is an integration. It leads into the increasing experience of integrity, singleness, oneness. Oneness is another way of saying love. True identity centers in love, because that is the centering of the Christ. The fire that burns, the symbol of love, is the centering of Shekinah. Why would there be any question as to where we should lay up treasure? Human beings frantically try to lay up treasure in earth to give themselves a sense of meaning and a sense of security. But it doesn't produce, does it? This is the promise of the devil, isn't it? Just fall down and worship me, and I'll give you all the kingdoms of this world and the glory of them. Human beings go after the carrot, which is dangling from their own heads. But all they find is nothing. Lift up your eyes, that your treasure may be in heaven. That all that is right and true, of the character of God, of the true tone of life, may be the treasure in one's own experience, regardless of what's going on around, regardless of anything in the earth. Let that be the treasure, so that what is expressed is that. And as that is increasingly expressed, the tone of life increasingly sounds, the heart is purified, the expression intensifies, and behold, all things are made new. Because there is no veil between heaven and earth anymore. And what is in heaven is reflected in the earth. And the treasure that was in heaven is revealed in the earth. But nobody is trying to lay up the treasure in earth. There's no need to. Once the treasure is accepted in heaven, then the earth reflects it. And man is once more a living soul instead of a dying one. This is the way, the truth, and the life. I certainly didn't invent it. I don't have that kind of inventive genius. It didn't need inventing. It's already the truth. But most human beings have indicated that they were not too interested in the truth. At least if it interfered with what they wanted to do themselves. But finally there are those who are beginning to come clear of the prejudices and the traditions which hold human beings in the meaningless round which leads to the grave. And relinquishing the treasures of earth, accepting the treasures of heaven, there is participation once more with God in His creative purposes here in His world. For it is His world. It doesn't belong to this creature which has been calling himself man. Let us share in letting the creative process work as it should, because we are once again polarized in the Lord. Behold, all things are made new.